Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show. The medical marijuana for you and me. Ah, yeah, the medical marijuana. Whoa, 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 yeah, the medical. It's the medical marijuana show. You will know.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Hey, boy, don't feel my world untrue. Yeah, I want to talk to you. My world can be true if you do what I tell you to. I want to talk to you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Medical Marijuana Radio. This one is for Saturday, the 20th of August, 2016. I'm your host, Larry Love. We're here every week to bring you the latest information on medical cannabis and adult use cannabis from all over the globe. Most of the adult use from here in the United States. Our guests later on in the show, we're going to have Jason Barker on from the New Mexico Linen Air and Compassionate Use Act Patient Group Alliance, and he's going to talk about what's happening with a legislative session up in Taos this coming Monday. Also, we'll have Melissa Loomis on, who is one of the people that run MJXpresso, a New Mexico licensed nonprofit producer. Of course, last week we talked about the announcement by the DEA not changing the schedule and basically just allowing more research without even reclassifying or dropping cannabis from the Schedule 1. And there's been a lot of reaction and so forth. There's a great campaign, Talk to the Hand, where people are writing 6630507 on their hand. There's a website that's going to come soon, and we'll let you know about that. But here is some reaction. Reality checking in on hypocrisy. The DEA won't reclassify marijuana. Here is this very interesting report.
Tonight we're taking a closer look as the DEA says it will not push to reclassify marijuana. What does that mean? Why won't they do it? And why government policy on this issue is stunningly hypocritical. This is a reality check you won't see anywhere else. Well, last week the DEA announced that it will not push to reschedule marijuana, more correctly called cannabis. So what is the DEA talking about when it says rescheduling? Well, to understand that, first of all, you have to understand the drug schedule. The U.S. government uses a 5-tier system for drug classification. A Schedule 5 drug would be a drug determined to have very little risk of abuse and very high medical use. An example of a Schedule 5 drug would be cough medicine like Robitussin AC. Cannabis right now is a Schedule 1 drug. That means it has no accepted medical use and has a high risk of abuse. So cannabis, it remains scheduled the same way as a deadly drug like heroin. Now the hope was that cannabis would at the very least, be rescheduled as a Schedule 2 drug. These drugs still have high risk of abuse, drugs like oxycodone. Those are Schedule 2 drugs. And yet the DEA claims that cannabis is more dangerous and of less value.
We saw just instantly a huge difference in the light behind his eyes, his awareness of what else was in the room. It was like the world sort of went from his world being here to his world kind of being maybe here. And he could see other people, and he was aware that we were somewhere different.
Well, earlier this year, I introduced you to Katie and her little boy, Hawk. Hawk suffers from a serious disease, and he takes CBD oil, a cannabis oil that is saving his life. But Hawk is not alone. There are tens of thousands of people, men, women, and children across the nation who are taking cannabis oil to treat all kinds of conditions: epilepsy, Crohn's disease, cancer, and many other conditions. Oh, and by the way, taking cannabis oil, whether CBD oil or even THCA oil, does not get you high.
Pull it up into a syringe, and he just gets 0.02 3 times a day.
So when so many people are getting incredible help from cannabis oil, how can the DEA claim there is no medical value? Consider the wording used. The drug has a high potential for abuse and no accepted medical use. Accepted by whom? The Department of Health and Human Services, the FDA? See, the DEA claim that not enough study has been done, but there's a reason for that. Because cannabis is a Schedule I drug, which means doctors, universities, and research facilities, they can't study it because it's a crime to possess it. And right now, only one facility in the entire United States is allowed to legally grow cannabis to supply to researchers. That's the University of Mississippi. The DEA says it will now consider expanding the number of DEA-registered marijuana manufacturers. But all that aside, I want to show you something that I was one of the first reporters in the nation to reveal just 3 years ago. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services actually holds the patent on cannabis oil for medical use. That patent is titled Cannabinoids as Antioxidants and Neuroprotectants. It was awarded to the Department of Health and Human Services in October of 2003. It was filed 4 years earlier in 1999 by a group of scientists from the National Institute of Mental Health, which is part of the National Institutes of Health. So what you need to know is that the patent gives the federal government exclusive rights on the use of cannabinoids for treating neurological diseases, diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and stroke, and diseases caused by oxidative stress such as heart attack, Crohn's disease, diabetes, and arthritis. Which means that while the DEA, the FDA, and HHS claim there is no evidence of any medical value for cannabis, and while tens of thousands of families struggle to get life-saving oil for their kids, the feds know enough about the value of cannabis to hold a patent on it as medicine. Now, how is that acceptable? That's Reality Check. Let's talk about that tonight on Twitter.
It's actually not acceptable, and people are outraged once they find out that 6630507 patent was given by Health and Human Services, the same group last week that said there was still no medical value to cannabis. So there's a website that's being built right now. It's not. I don't know if it's ready yet. It's sort of up and running. It's 6630507.com. It also is part of the Talk to the Hand campaign, where people are writing 6630507 on their hands and posting pictures. So check it out. It's a work in progress, but it is on its way to educating people about the medical benefits of cannabis. There's a young man who makes these little videos. He's afflicted with a condition that cannabis is helping, and it's called Illegally Healed. And here is one of his videos right now.
Research has been done to show that marijuana can alleviate chronic pain, boost appetite and wasting syndromes, and that it can relieve painful spasms. Those are really not debatable. Those are accepted in reports from the American Medical Association, American College of Physicians, Institute of Medicine. These are really solid medical facts. Their horizons are really vast. Everything from potentially slowing the progression of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, potentially to stopping the spread of cancers and growth of cancers, potentially improving response after stroke or brain injury. These are some of the really exciting future medical potentials that research is showing that marijuana can be beneficial for. The most important thing that people should know is that it's surprisingly non-toxic. A lot of research has not been able to find a lot of end organ damages like you have with aspirin or Tylenol. With heavy use of those things, you can really damage your kidneys or your stomach. But those similar things aren't found in research with long-term use of marijuana. So a lot of potential benefits, very minimal on the toxicity side, and the future is bright.
And again, that's Illegally Healed's video. He does a number of these, and they're very, very good. Up next, we have a very controversial legalization, Prop 64 in California this coming November. Some people are against it. They don't feel it goes far enough, and it just is giving access to people with big money. But here is Chris Conrad, who's explaining how California's Prop 64 would protect medical cannabis, which is something that is very important to me and to a lot of other people. So you have to listen to this stuff and read it and decide for yourself if you're in California which way you want to vote. But here is a compelling testimony on why you should pass 64 in California by Chris Conrad.
Hi, I'm Chris Conrad, a court-qualified cannabis expert witness. To learn more about me, come to chrisconrad.com. I'm here today to talk to you about Proposition 64, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, also known as ALMA, and how it affects medical marijuana patients. In 1996, California voters passed Proposition 215, the Compassionate Use Act, that created Health and Safety Code 11362.5 and created a legal defense for a patient and caregiver to cultivate and possess marijuana for medical purposes. Proposition 64 is on the November 2016 ballot, and it would legalize non-medical use of marijuana, including cultivation, possession, sharing, and transportation of limited amounts. There's a lot of misinformation that conflates Proposition 215, Senate Bill 420, the Medical Marijuana Regulation and Safety Act, and the various 17 drafts of initiatives that were filed last year in the state of California, but only one made the ballot. I've read Proposition 64, and it lets medical marijuana stand. In fact, it protects it 9 times. The courts have ruled that a doctor's recommendation means a patient can have any reasonable amount of medical marijuana. Prop 64 limits what a non-medical user can have, but it lets the patient continue to have more. The courts have ruled that local governments can ban patient gardens, but Prop 64 overturns bans on enclosed indoor gardens statewide so that people can grow at home whether they're medical marijuana patients or not. The legislature voted in 2015 to end SB 420 collective defense against cultivation, possession, and sharing and sales of marijuana. Prop 64 allows all adults to cultivate, possess, and share marijuana with or without a doctor's note and creates regulated access to sales. Courts have said that police can search medical marijuana patients over the presence of a small amount of marijuana or even the odor of marijuana. Prop 64 will stop those searches. It says that any lawful amount of marijuana is not to be the basis for a further search by law enforcement. So if you have a small amount of marijuana or you smell like cannabis, it's no longer a basis for a patient to be searched, as long as they're an adult. The medical marijuana is subject to the state sales tax, but Prop 64 makes an exception for people who have a state medical marijuana ID card. Well, those medical marijuana state ID cards can be expensive, especially on top of the cost of a doctor's approval. They can cost hundreds of dollars. But Prop 64 sets a cap on how much the local governments can charge for those, and it also allows discounts for Medi-Cal and for indigent patients. Prop 64 doesn't stop there. It adds privacy rights for patients. It adds parental and custodial rights for patients. Prop 64 says that if your doctor makes a mistake when he's recommending medical marijuana to you, it's not going to be held against you as a patient. Prop 64 legalizes some things and it reduces other penalties, but it protects the medical marijuana defenses and rights against all the same charges as there was previously. So Prop 64 makes it legal for all adults, and patients are still taken care of for their special needs. I'm a medical marijuana patient myself, and I'm voting yes on Proposition 64. Won't you join me?
So do your due diligence, read it carefully. There's still people, going to jail in California and other states for possession and of cannabis. So we need to get rid of this as soon as possible. And that was Chris Conrad in California. Here is Dr. David Allen, who says that all cannabis use is medicinal.
Hello, my name is Dr. David Allen. I'm a retired cardiac surgeon and member of the International Cannabinoid Research Society, ICRS. That means I'm a cannabinoid research scientist. And I'm here to tell you about the discovery of the endocannabinoid system, the ECS, and the significance and how it will change medicine. And we discovered the endocannabinoid system about 30 years ago, and we really didn't understand the significance of its discovery. And so we found out that this is a chemical communication that your body has. It's not electrical, it's chemical, and it's kind of like the hormone systems that people are familiar with. And your body makes these cannabinoids. They're endogenous, so they're endocannabinoids, and they perform some miraculous functions in the body. And we're just learning the significance of these functions. And basically, the endocannabinoid system is responsible for homeostasis. Most people don't understand what that really means, but it's the body's ability to maintain itself and function in the proper environment. And so it's critically important that that doctors in the future understand this control mechanism. And we're finding out that that manipulation of this endocannabinoid system will control diabetes. It controls cancer. It controls whether you can survive a heart attack or stroke. And so this is critically important for doctors to understand this new science. And the discovery of the endocannabinoid system is the single most important medical scientific discovery ever, and will save more lives than the discovery and application of sterile surgical technique. And I'm a heart surgeon saying that. So more people will be saved by manipulation of the endocannabinoid system than are currently saved by surgery. And so we found out there's studies that if you use cannabis for 20 years or more, just smoking cannabis, that it decreases the incidence of diabetes by 66%. There are studies that show when they specifically stress beta cells of the pancreas to try to kill them by oxidative techniques, that if you use cannabinoids, it protects the cells from this oxidation. And so really what this means is you can use cannabis and decrease the incidence of diabetes by 66% or more, maybe if you use it other ways, if you eat it. And your doctor currently can't give you any medicine at all that decreases the incidence of diabetes by even 2%. So this is a miracle that cannabis does this, and it means that your use of cannabis will protect the beta cells of your pancreas from oxidation. That means basically all cannabis use is medical, regardless of whether you understand the science behind this or not.
All cannabis use is medical. We didn't know that when we were smoking cannabis back in the 60s and people in the 30s and 40s, and they did know it hundreds of years ago and thousands of years ago, but it's just coming back now. All cannabis use is medical. Believe it or not, Texas is getting ready for their medical cannabis program. And here is this report. I thought they would be the last state to go medical, and they might even go recreational sooner than we thought, too. Here's this report.
Just 1 week after the DEA declared there are no medical benefits to the drug, health reporter Haley Hernandez discovered doctors and scientists right here in Houston are planning new research to find out if cannabis can be used to treat patients suffering from a host of diseases.
State lawmakers, physicians, scientists meeting with Vera Farm Biopharmaceuticals. Elias Jackson's telling them his company has the technology to make sure high-quality standards are maintained throughout the agricultural, distributing, and use of medical cannabis.
As you well know, Texas is slated to be one of the largest, if not the largest, medical cannabis program with the compassionate use program. What Vera Farm has done is establish the Cannabinoid Processing Center, which is a comprehensive system that will be able to weed out any type of contaminant.
Researchers from every hospital are here with specific studies on medical marijuana in mind, from seizures, PTSD, psychiatric disorders, cancer, and not all for the supposed benefits you might assume.
These qualities, some of which have been known for a number of years, but more recently are just being discovered in other human tumors, particularly non-Hodgkin lymphomas.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration decided last week it would not loosen restrictions, claiming cannabis is unsafe and has no medical benefit.
I look at it as the DEA starting to open the door for research.
While federal agencies are leaving marijuana in the most restrictive category for controlled substances, Texas medical professionals move forward with setting standards for the drug that could soon be accessible to patients.
The Texas Compassionate Use Act was signed by Governor Abbott last year. It's set to license at least 3 dispensing organizations by September of next year. Reporting from TMCX in the Texas Medical Center, I'm Haley Hernandez, KBRC, Channel 2 News.
Texas and marijuana, amazing. Some people are probably still incarcerated for having a joint or two on them. They've been a terrible state, but they obviously are coming around. Here in New Mexico, we've had a problem, many problems with our program. We used to be one of the models for medical cannabis programs. A family named Nunez had to take their little baby to Colorado for oil treatment for the seizures. And they've joined up with Ultra Health, or Ultra Health has joined up with them to file a lawsuit here in New Mexico about the short supply of medical cannabis available for patients. And here is this report right now.
You may remember seeing an Albuquerque couple's story right here on News 13. They turned to cannabis to save the life of their baby. Now that couple is back in the news tonight, suing the state of New Mexico and the Department of Health, claiming there is not enough medical marijuana for patients. News 13's Marissa Luceto explains.
Nicole Nunez isn't the only one in on this fight. A New Mexico medical marijuana producer is too. Now, Nunez's 8-month-old baby girl was just cleared for her medical marijuana card, and it didn't take long for the family to then file this lawsuit.
I'm not stopping. I'm going to continue fighting because it's not only just for my daughter, but it's also to speak for other patients that are having issues, that are needing their medication and are unable to get their medication.
Amelia and her mom spent nearly 5 months in a Denver area hospital looking for alternative medicines to help treat her seizures from a rare form of epilepsy. That alternative ended up being a controversial cannabis oil. Amelia returned home to Albuquerque this summer. Nunez, along with Ultra Health, one of the state's medical marijuana producers, filed the lawsuit against the state yesterday, claiming a plant count limit is keeping New Mexico medical marijuana producers from meeting the needs of all the patients here in the state.
We are 600% short of the required medication that we would need to be able to ensure that patients would be provided with uninterrupted adequate supply.
The Department of Health says it can't comment on pending litigation, but says they have licensed 12 more producers this year for a total of 35. It has also increased the number of plants producers are allowed to grow from 150 to 450. The department says they have nearly 30,000 patients in the program. Marissa Luceto, KRQE, News 13.
Also, another big problem over the last 9-10 months is that the Department of Health has not been renewing cards and getting new patients in. They're backlogged. And back in April, when the problem was still, just accelerating, I asked them at the meeting if they could grant an extension to people, because people were not able to go buy their medicine. They were locked out because their cards hadn't been renewed in time. In April, they said no, they couldn't do that. Well, yesterday afternoon, Friday afternoon, the Department of Health put out a statement saying that they will extend all cards that have not been renewed, if you're in the system, from expiring from June 15th through the end of the year. And they've notified law enforcement and so forth. And they're supposed to show up on Monday in Taos at a legislative meeting to talk about all this stuff. It'll be interesting to see if they do or not. And we'll be back in just a few seconds to talk to Jason Barker, who will be speaking at that meeting about the problems in our program. So we'll be back with Jason, and after that we'll go right into Melissa Loomis from one of the LMPP's MJXpresso. So we'll be right back after this.
It's all about the 420 MMJRadio.
Online today, I have Jason Barker, who runs one of the patient advocacy groups here in New Mexico. And on Monday, the 22nd, there's going to be a big meeting up in Taos. So, Jason, tell us a little bit about that, and I know that you'll be speaking there.
Yes, on Monday, the Legislative Health and Human Services Committee is going to be having their next meeting, and they're going to be doing an update on the medical cannabis program. Timothy Keller, state auditor, is going to be there. They're also going to have two representatives from the medical marijuana registry program in Colorado, along with Duke Rodriguez. It's going to be there from Ultra Health. Stephanie, president from the New Mexico Medical Cannabis Patients Alliance, will be there as well. Also sounds like we are going to have a representative from the Attorney General's office there, too.
Now,
and hopefully the Department of Health will show up this time. They're expected to be there.
That's my question. They've got two speakers from the Department of Health in Colorado that are willing to come, and it'll be interesting if they will indeed. I mean, they did promise the legislative panel a couple weeks ago that they would send somebody, and actually, you know, Secretary Gallagher, temporary Secretary Gallagher, or whatever she's called, needs to get up there. So tell us, give us some talking points. What is the meeting really about? And, you know, do you want to get some people to come up there? Do you want some support? What's happening with that?
The Legislative Health and Human Services Committee, they are definitely wanting to have patients come up. Even if patients from Santa Fe, surrounding areas can show up. They are going to do an extended public comment time. They really want to hear feedback from patients. When I spoke with the chairperson for the committee after the last meeting, they were pretty shocked that they didn't have very many patients showing up. You know, and part of that was, you know, patients weren't really well informed about the meetings going on. And so definitely been trying to do that this time around, now that we know they're having them, and getting patients up there, you know, to share their stories, because that's going to be the biggest effect and change with what's going on.
Sure. Well, you know, they made it a little tougher for everybody because, you know, a lot of the patients are in Santa Fe and Albuquerque area, and of course they've moved this meeting up to Taos, so it's a little bit harder to get there. But it's a beautiful drive, and people should take a ride up there. So, what do you is the basis of the meeting still talking about the delays that the Department of Health here in New Mexico is having with renewals and new applications?
That is going to be the focus. Is going to be on the registry identification cards and the process going on there. They are still around about 40 days. The Department of Health is claiming and processing them. I'm still hearing feedback from patients that they're waiting over 60 days.
And what will you be touching on yourself?
Along with myself, what I'm going to be speaking on is really going to be coverage from what's been going on in the program the last year and a half that has set the stage for this to happen, with the disruption, inadequate supply, along with these administrative delays. And by doing so, you know, this is in part with the Medical Cannabis Advisory Board. They have lacked proactivity, and they have lacked proactive oversight for the people in the program. And by doing their job, these are, you know, board-certified medical practitioners. They're doctors.
Right. Well, these doctors that are on the Medical Advisory Board, they have been doing an excellent job over the last 7 years that I've been around. I think the problem is that once they make their recommendations going up the line to the health secretary, that's where the problem has been. The last two health secretaries have just shot down all the recommendations that a board of 7 or 8 medical doctors have recommended to the health secretary. And of course, the health secretary, the last two, the current one and the one previous, have had really aren't physicians. They're not medical doctors. The current Lynn Gallagher is actually an attorney who's married to the police chief of Santa Fe, New Mexico. So there's a lot going on in Santa Fe, you know, with people still getting arrested for possession of cannabis, even though it's been decriminalized in Santa Fe. So give us the times and the address for where this is going to be on Monday, the 22nd.
Well, just to follow up on what I was saying there, And, what the Medical Cannabis Advisory Board could be doing further, as you said, they've run into that, obstruction with the administration aspect of the Department of Health. And that's where we need them to then speak up as those medical professionals and say, hey, I've taken this oath, and the first part of my oath says do no harm. And this is occurring, so therefore they need to speak out against their secretary.
Right. I don't know if the advisory board going to be at this meeting, or I don't believe that they are.
No. And just says to be determined for the Department of Health person. And when I called Tuesday of this week to talk to the secretary's office to see who would be showing up, I think I actually literally reminded them that the meeting was going on because she had no idea who was going to be there. And I'm going to call you back this afternoon, and it's Friday, and I still haven't heard anything.
All right. Well, give us the times and the address so that people can make a plan to get up there on Monday.
The meeting will start at 1 o'clock. It's going to be at the Taos County Commission Chambers, and that is 106 Albright Street. And it'll start with some, opening comments from the chair of the committee. And about 1:15, 1:25, it's going to go into the update on medical cannabis. That will take place for about 2 to 2.5 hours, and then they will open up for public comment.
Okay, and again, it starts at, what'd you say, 1:30 on Monday the 22nd in Taos?
We'll start at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
The medical cannabis portion will probably start about 1:15, 1:30.
Okay, great. And why don't you give out your Facebook page? You have a patient group there that people have joined to get education and hear about the activism with our program here. Give that out on Facebook.
Yes, if you go on Facebook and you search LECUA, Patients Coalition in New Mexico, you'll find the community page and the discussion group. And we do have our first meeting coming up. It's going to be September 16th at North Domingo Baca Multi-Generational Center in Albuquerque.
Fantastic. Well, when that is happening, we can have you on again to let people know about that meeting. So, Jason Barker, thank you very much. Good luck on Monday. I won't be able to make it myself, but I'm hoping that it might be live streamed as other meetings are on the internet, and I'll let people know on my Facebook page if that's going to happen. So, thanks again. So that was Jason Barker, and I do believe it will be live streamed. So those of you who can't make it up to Taos, and I might be one of those, I might be watching it or listening to it on the internet, check out the legislative webpage, for times and when that will start. So we'll be actually we're not going to take a break, but we're going to go right into our interview with Melissa Loomis, who is one of the people that run MJXpresso, one of the 35 LNPPs, licensed nonprofit producers here in New Mexico. And here is our conversation that we had a few days ago. And we're back. And online today, I have the operations manager for MJXpresso, Melissa Loomis. MJXpresso is one of the first dozen or so LNPPs, licensed nonprofit producers in New Mexico, to grow and dispense cannabis to medical patients. Welcome to Medical Marijuana Radio, Melissa.
Good morning, Larry. It is such a pleasure to be on your show. I've been a fan for a very long time, and I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Give us a little history of MJXpresso. I heard nothing about them for a few years, and all of a sudden you guys are out there and doing it. So give us a little background.
And I've been with them for a while, so y'all are welcome to fact check me or whatever, but this is generally what I know. We were approved in 2011 with the first group of licensed producers that came out for New Mexico. We were founded in Truth or Consequences, Sierra County, primarily to bring medical cannabis and education of medical cannabis to seniors and afflicted people in our area. Our stats are, of course, we're poverty-stricken, demographically, recessed area. And like many other places in the States, really, they wanted to bring the benefits of that medicine here. So we've been here for a long time. We have been a delivery service out of here only until the last 2 years. We do have a storefront in Las Cruces that's serving patients there.
So,
yeah, we
obviously, the outskirts of the major cities in New Mexico has been a problem for a long time, and Las Cruces, I believe, only had maybe one dispensary, and of course,
That's correct.
crossing the federal checkpoint is a problem. So, how does that affect you in getting medicine to people outside of Las Cruces, the checkpoint there?
Right. We're not really affected by the checkpoint only because we will take product into the area and we don't have a checkpoint from going southbound. So, and we don't come up with it. In other words, it doesn't leave Las Cruces. Once it's there for the patients, the registered patients on the program, and they buy it at our store. So we haven't been really affected. We have, however, helped a lot of patients that are affected. We've a lot of just basically they don't want to, they don't know what can't leave Las Cruces with their medicine. They feel like, they don't want to come to the checkpoint with it. So we've made arrangements for them to pick up medicine here to go on their travels. So like I said, as far as us as a company, the border issue has not been an issue because it goes in, but it doesn't come out.
Okay, but maybe some of your patients that are purchasing from you, do they have to drive through the checkpoint to get home?
No. Like I said, if they purchase in Las Cruces and come up northbound, then they hit the checkpoint. But if you're coming from, say, Albuquerque to Las Cruces, you don't have a checkpoint. It's only northbound.
Right. So tell me a little bit about what strains you guys have and different products that are available to the people down south there.
Well, we've been working the last couple years very, very hard to bring some of the variety and products that, say, the patients up north in Albuquerque have with so many dispensaries up there. And we've finally brought all of the products that are available in the bigger metropolitan areas actually to TRC in the Las Cruces area. Southwestern New Mexico, we have currently we have one strain, Mr. Nice, tested at 24%. It's a beautiful, hairy little bud. We've had great feedback on that. We try to keep between 4 to 5 indica strains on the board at least, 4 to 5 sativas and a couple hybrids. We've also been working very hard to get CBD, flower high in CBD on the board at all times, and we finally got some Canatonic, and it's really, really helped so many of our patients.
Absolutely, Canatonic is a great CBD strain. What about other than flower? Are you currently? I know everybody just got relicensed last month. Are you currently growing 450 plants, or are you growing a lower amount?
I believe so. We are growing the max. We don't grow anything out of my location anymore. All that's been moved, but we've got several grow spots up north in Yether.
And so, what about extractions and edibles? Or are you using a third party, or are you making your own edibles?
Yes, sir. Actually, we use Butter Pros and Elevated. Elevated is a product that I personally love. I'm a chocolate junkie, but
as I am as well. What is Elevated? I haven't heard. haven't heard of them. Are they like one of the other?
Oh my goodness!
Extraction.
Yeah, they're in Albuquerque, and I believe they're on Facebook. Elevated. They're fairly new. They got approved by the state, I believe, last year. But they make amazing chocolate bars. They make actually a white chocolate with Heath, 200 milligram bar. That's just, it's delicious and very effective medicine. They also have CBD, plant extracted CBD oil. They do cookies, granola bites, pretty much anything that you'd like to try to use as a medium to ingest your cannabis, they can do it. And we also use Butter Pros, Bang. You know, our deal is we want to be able to provide what the patients want. And I feel the more variety we have available at our stores, the better we can help our patients.
Absolutely. How about capsules, you know, that contain no calories?
Canatabs. Yes, sir. We actually have rolled them out a couple times, and it's been very successful. Yet we have our oil processed by Elevated or Butter Pros or whoever, one of the extraction teams, and we have actually made our own canna capsules before, and they go great. So we're definitely looking at keeping that on as a constant.
Sure. I think that's a great option for people that you know, can't eat gluten and don't want sugar and don't want calories.
Right.
It's really the true medicine is some canna caps. And are you using oil in the canna caps?
Yeah, what we did last time is we just used the material, the oil that was extracted, and infused it with coconut oil.
Perfect. That's exactly how I make my own personal ones at home. So
yeah, and they're organic, and yeah, like I said, as much as I love the chocolate bars, it goes to places I don't need anymore, and that's a super medium for really anybody to medicate with cannabis.
Absolutely. So besides the Cannatonic, and how many strains do you usually have on hand at one time?
Like I said, we try to have at least 5 of indica, 5 sativa, and a couple hybrids. So I'd say between 10 and 15 is probably a safe bet. Once in a while, we'll be down to 2 or 3 strains, and it's just, you know, between harvest cycles. But that hasn't happened in quite a while.
Sure. And
so we're actually.
Go ahead.
Sorry. And like I said, we're actually bringing in a lot more products that weren't previously available to patients in the Southwest area, RSO being a real big one, or the Buddha tears.
Are we talking about a Rick Simpson type?
Yes.
So do you have like syringes available with you know, Rick Simpson type oil in it, available to people that need to use that?
We sure do. We sure do, and that's something that we've been able to keep on hand probably 96% of the time, anytime our patients need it. And if there's something that we do not have that a patient would like, you know, to try, we will do our very best to make that happen. We're all learning in this, you know, it's a fairly new industry. It's some days it seems a lot older than others, but we're here for the patients. So yeah.
Absolutely. So price wise, can you give me a little idea of what you charge per gram, let's say, for flower?
Sure. Our top shelf, right now, the highest that we have is $12 a gram. That's going to be, like I mentioned, something like the Mr. Nice, and I believe it tested at 24-point-something% THC, virtually no CBDs in that strain. But that's something. It would be $12 a gram.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty reasonable, and I think
that's the highest.
Yeah.
And we've actually got several strains on the board now that are $8. So.
So, and what are your hours and how many locations? You just have one dispensary right now?
We have 2 locations. We have a storefront in Las Cruces, which is open Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And on Saturday, they're open from 10 to 4, and on Sunday as well from 10 to 4. So they're open 7 days a week. Yes, sir.
That's fabulous.
And they're located on 755 North Tail Shore Boulevard, right across from the mall.
And you say, so you have a second location or just the one?
No, that's our Las Cruces location. Okay. And then where I'm based out of, which is our not our home office, but our founding office, I guess, in TRC. And we are open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're a delivery service only until the 1st of September. We're going to have a grand opening for a new storefront located in Sierra County.
Well, that's something that I think is probably well needed down in the South area.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What are the furthest some of your patients are driving to get to you? Because, you know, the rural areas have been, you know, a problem since day one here in our
way underserved. Yeah. Yes, sir. And we tried to deliver over in Hobbs last year, which failed miserably. Just geographically, geographically and monetarily, It's really difficult to justify that trip from my location. I know finally they got a couple dispensaries over there, and I'm so happy that they're finally getting some medicine. But out of TRC, we serve Sierra County. We also deliver to Hatch, Silver City, Deming, Lordsburg. Actually, Lordsburg comes to Silver to pick up. But we're also trying to expand to Socorro for weekly deliveries as well.
Well, I think things are changing. You know, they did license 12 new dispensaries, LNPPs,
Yes, sir.
recently, and some of them are actually already up and running, which is quite incredible. And actually,
It is. I hope some of those use their license to help rural communities everywhere in the state.
Yeah. Well, it seems that Albuquerque and Manal in general.
That's
seems
it.
that everything is clustered right there. I mean, there's got to be.
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing.
And there's a populace of patients there. I understand. You know, they want to be where the patients are, but it's just and it's tough. It's an age-old problem, but we definitely need to focus on getting those rural people served.
So let me ask you this. We've had a problem, obviously, over the last 8 or 9 months getting people renewed and people's cards expiring and the BioTrack system not working well and telling people that they've bought too much and locking them out. Is that affecting MJXpresso at all down there?
Actually not, and we actually tried to roll out on BioTrack Live last week and have a couple issues that we're trying to get resolved. So we haven't actually implemented. We obviously report on the state mandated stuff on a separate deal, but we're still running a separate point of sale system. And we report everything, so we haven't run into that. But yes, I've already got my feet wet with BioTrack, and it has not been nice.
what is BioTrack Live? Is that some part of BioTrack or?
No, it's just we were going to go live last Monday. It's a point of sale system that you use in real time. So it was going to be our first day, and like I said, we had some licensing issues that we're trying to get squared away just in programming. So yeah.
Have you guys at MJXpresso gotten your employee cards yet, or are you still dealing with not having?
We haven't. We don't have them. I saw a couple emails and maybe even other people haven't been getting them either. We have not seen them yet.
Did they send you a letter that you can have to hold? Because I heard that some letters went out, I believe, to some of the LNPPs that says, your cards aren't here, but you have this letter that says that you're licensed. Do you have that?
Yes, we did. We received an email from DOH. Yes.
Okay, cool. How do you feel, about the situation with the patients not, getting their cards renewed on time? My card was actually, expired for at least 3 weeks before I got my card, but is that still something you're hearing is prevalent?
Absolutely. And as a whole, our patients seemingly are trying to kind of roll with the punches, but there's people out there that are relying completely on their medical cannabis cancer patients primarily, even chronic pain patients. That's just as debilitating of a disease as cancer is, especially when you live with it. And to have your medicine ripped from you and say, okay, well, you can't get this legally anymore. You're risking going to jail or you're going to die. It's not something that people should have to wrestle with.
Right. Well, plus the spokesperson for the Department of Health said, while we're having this backlog, you should go back to your doctors, pay for another visit and ask them to give you some alternative medicine. Whereas I thought cannabis was the alternative medicine.
Absolutely.
And I felt that it was just a very irresponsible thing for the Department of Health to say. And Kenny Vigil, the spokesperson, is the one that said it. And I keep bringing it up because I just felt that was just outrageous,
and I think a lot of people just don't understand what it's like to walk in shoes that requires help via medical, holistic, whatever. And when you haven't experienced that kind of hell, you really can't be sympathetic towards it. And I don't know, anybody personally at the at the state level, and I certainly don't mean any disrespect to Mr. V. Hill, but that is absolutely the wrong thing to tell people.
Yeah. Well, I do mean disrespect to Mr. V. Hill, but I don't have to deal with him. He doesn't return my calls when I ask for something for the DOH anyway. But you have to stay in good with the DOH because you are ruled by them, so you got to mind your P's and Q's with those people.
Well, yeah, and like I said, if it's something that I can speak personally to, I will. But I certainly know that none of us are happy with the way the timeline is going, and that the risk that the patients are being put in, it's not fair. I would love to see the department and us patients get together and petition the department for 5-year cards.
Absolutely.
I think that would take a lot of work off of them and a lot of work off of us, and
Yeah, even a
okay.
Even a 3-year card would be great. I mean, most people, their conditions aren't changing. This is helping them, live with a condition, and it certainly would cut out all the renewals for a few years if they would give us a multi-year card. And I understand that that's going to happen.
Absolutely, it's just in a state of redundancy right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's busy work.
What else would you like to see changed in the program, Melissa?
I would like to see more cooperation with the patients and the LNPPs.
Between the two of them? Between the patients and the LNPPs?
Yeah, more instead of, and I know we all talk online and we've got a great sources of communication there. I just like to see. I feel like if we communicate more, we can, especially with the patient alliances and some of the other groups, there's a lot of them, but bring the voices from the patients to the LMPPs, because a lot of times I kind of sit on the fence because I'm a patient and I work there. However, the producers don't always get to hear what the patients want. By the time
a problem arises, it's a little bit too late.
Right.
Yeah.
And just more communication. A barbecue, heck, just get together, because we're all on the same page. We're all fighting for the medicine at some angle, and we're all on the same team.
So when you decided to enter this industry and be a part of it and so forth, well, what do you think the biggest surprise for you was that you didn't think about, that is like something major in regard to how to do business? Is there something that just you said, gee, I didn't think of that?
I didn't realize it was going to be as difficult as it is. This industry, of course, with the federal laws being what they are, and we're still not clearly defined there. It's not an easy industry to work in. Everybody at every level works really, really hard to keep this thing going. And it's not pretty. A lot of people say, oh, I want to work at a dispensary. I want to play with weed all day. Well, it's not like that, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we work really hard to maintain professionalism and to do the right things and to do what the state has mandated and to do what our patients need. It's a difficult job.
Many LNPPs, have trouble finding growers, and they go through lots of growers. Have you found that to be true for yourself at MJXpresso?
We have amazing growers. We actually have been very, very blessed in that regard. We did have just a geographical issue. One of the reasons that we moved the grow from Tier C up north is because our water just is crappy. It's too high in minerals. So our growers are awesome people, and they care very, very much about what they do. They're amazing to watch.
Yeah,
they're fun to watch.
There still seems to be a learning curve and a growing curve, so to speak. I noticed in looking at Peter St. Cyr's database of the first quarter results that, there's some LNPPs that have been around for, 6-7 years that are still growing, less than 4 ounces a plant. And some of them are growing, 1 pound and 2 pounds a plant. So,
right. And our numbers the first quarter were horrible because we had just moved the grow. And of course, we had to start all over.
Sometimes that's a good thing because you get to use the newer technology. Things have changed, lights have changed over the last few years. What is your growing technique at MJXpresso? Are you using soil or are you hydroponic?
We use indoor soil.
Okay, so are you greenhouse or totally lights?
Totally lights.
Uh-huh. Well, so do you feel that, how do you feel about, the possibility of recreational coming in the future and what we need to do to maintain our medical dispensaries? Because, there is a difference. Recreational is a totally different business than medical.
I honestly couldn't care less about recreational. I believe that cannabis has medicinal benefits for everybody. I'm optimistic that the bill that Representative McCamley is trying to pass does have, and they're working on it. I know some things need to change, but I'm really proud of the fact that he's trying to maintain the medical aspect of it. He's introducing a bill for recreational legalization, and I hope that integrity is maintained. Recreationally, I know a lot of people enjoy it, and for whatever reason, but for me, this is about life. This is about quality of life. This is about maintaining that quality of life, and
it's a real medicine.
Light back to people that have none.
Yeah, cannabis is a real medicine. Yes, it shouldn't have sales tax on it like our other medicines are. So things like that need to be fixed. As far as
that's right.
My thoughts on recreational are. It's really necessary because it certainly is a lot better than people using alcohol. They're finding that
absolutely. And I support it. I'm just.
And people shouldn't go to jail, because they have joints. So decriminalization, legalization for adults is really important.
That's the key word. Decriminalization, yes, sir. Right. Decriminalization is the key word.
And for me, the key thing is, with legalization, I've said it a million times on the show. We have to preserve the medical program. So that's what's important for me. Both are important because nobody's life should be ruined by going to jail for some joints. Do you want to give out your website address?
Sure. And I also wanted to say I have a nonprofit foundation that's completely separate from MJXpresso. It's called the Sweet Foundation. And I do help people pay for doctor visits if they need them. Basically, any support needed. I'm self-funded, and I mean that 100%. But I survived. I have a story myself. I'm an opiate addict, former opiate addict. Back in 2009, I walked away from that with the help of medical cannabis, and I've been through 19 surgeries. Anyway, I'm here and I shouldn't be. And so I have a foundation that gives back, the Sweet Foundation. If any of y'all know of anybody that needs help, I kind of take it one at a time basis. There can be some waiting period, but I'm here to help if I can.
And how do people get in touch with you for the Sweet Foundation?
The Sweet Foundation, you can either send me an email at thesweetfoundation@yahoo.com, or you can also feel free to call me. If I don't answer, leave me a message. I do return calls, and that my number is 575-740-0328. 740-0328. And also, if you guys would like any information on MJXpresso or anything that we can answer for you on that end, we also have a website that is www.mjexpresso.com, and that's EXPRESSO.com.
And on there they can see what strains and products you have currently available.
Yes, sir. We've got an updated menu, and we've got 2 tabs on our website, one for the Las Cruces area and one for the TRC area. and they can click on those tabs and see everything we have available
Well,
at either store.
Thank you very much for being on with us today and telling us about MJXpresso and the Sweet Foundation. Sounds sweet, and I'm glad you're out there helping people. So,
Thank you.
Melissa Loomis, thank you very much. Anytime you have anything you want to get out to the patients, let's get you on the air. So I thank you again.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Larry. It was an honor to be on your show.
Thank you very much. Melissa,
Thank you.
Good luck and best to all the patients down there. We'll be right back after this.
Express yourself. Express yourself. You don't never need help from nobody else. All you got to do now, express yourself. Whatever you do, do it good. Whatever you do, Lord, Lord. Do it good. Oh yeah. It's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing what you look like you're doing. Express yourself. Express yourself. You're doing it on the moon, y'all. In the jungle too. Everybody on the floor now. Jumping like a kangaroo. So let the horn do the thing they do, y'all. Some people have everything and other people don't. But everything don't mean a thing if it ain't the thing you want. Express yourself. Express yourself. Oh, do it. Oh, do it. Do it to it. Go on and do it. Y'all do it. Get it. Express yourself. Express yourself. Do the medical marijuana. The medical marijuana radio show.
Well, I want to thank Jason for telling us about the meeting on Monday up in Taos. Try to make it up there on the 22nd, New Mexico patients. Also, Melissa Loomis from MJXpresso, yourself, Expresso. Thank you for telling us about MJXpresso. I also want to thank my two radio mentors, both with the initials HS. Thank you for your inspiration. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, if you have a website, you have a product in the cannabis industry, you're a patient, want to tell your story, write me at info@mmjradio.com, info@mmjradio.com. If you missed any of our old shows, they're available at mmjradio.com. Also, my YouTube channel, LSLove88. On SoundCloud, it's MMJ Radio, as well as Spreaker, it's MMJ Radio. Also on Spreaker, it's the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network, and they broadcast us on their iHeartRadio channel. CannabisTube.net, On Now TV, channel 937, and also heard on 420radio.org.
Shalom.